Welcome to Level Up Your Frequency. So last week, we spoke about awareness of self. That was part 1. Here we are for part 2. And we're going to be speaking about awareness of others. But today, as you can see, we changed the scenery because we have a very special guest coming onto this podcast tonight. And I'm super excited. So our special guest is Auspiddit. He is an artist, a teacher, and a healer. Auspiddit, come on down. So glad to have you here today.
I'm happy to be here.
On Level Up Your Frequency.
Thank you for having me on Level Up Your Frequency. I appreciate it. You have a beautiful set here. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. And the reason why I have Auspiddit here tonight is because I'm
gonna go for it, yo.
Surprise! We happen to be together.
Yes.
And we do a lot of spiritual work together. And I consider Auspiddit a master communicator and also a master lyricist and healer.
Thank you.
And we speak about a lot of spiritual topics. And I thought it would be perfect for us to come together tonight to speak about awareness of others, especially being in a relationship. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be a relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with friends. Either way, this is a topic that's very, very important. And I feel a lot of people tend to struggle with, because when it comes to awareness of others, we tend to take on other people's energy and other people's thoughts and their programming without us being aware of it. So tonight we're going to discuss having awareness and how we could even start to have awareness of others. So let's start with diving deep into awareness of others. And where do we start with this topic?
Well, first and foremost, I think that just in general, being aware of other people's feelings, their emotions, their thoughts, the way that they have their own energy, it can either be a blessing for us or it can be somewhat of an infection, if you will, depending on what they're battling with. I feel like we all kind of battle something that we, don't necessarily speak about, right? And it's up to us to kind of take it into our own hands to heal those parts of us. So being aware of what you may put onto others, being aware of what others may put onto you, and protecting your energy, I think is such an important thing that you and I have to do on a daily basis, as well as just when we go places, right? Because can't just sit in the house all day.
Right. Right.
One thing that I actually just want to pick your brain a little bit. So when it comes down to like how, because you're very gifted when it comes to your spirituality, you're very gifted. And even psychic abilities. So like, what's something that you have to be very aware of before you go into speaking with others, having a client, like anything like that? What's something that's very important for you in your own awareness?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think what I tend to begin with is what we're speaking about now is just that level of awareness and consciousness and checking in with myself, seeing where I'm at, even examining the mood that I may be in.
Yeah. And
on a day-to-day basis, I feel like it tends to shift, especially as a female. We do go through different hormones and flux. Say that word for me.
That's the master communicator.
Yeah, I know, right? We'll cut that out, whatever.
No, we're not. Go ahead.
Yeah, who needs to know how to speak properly? He does, but I don't care.
I don't either, it's fine.
So, yeah, we tend to kind of go up and down with the emotions. And it's really our job as a female to be aware of that and know what's real and what's not real, what could be like hormonal shifts or what could just be like programming. And sometimes it's hard to decipher the difference or decipher where certain emotions are coming from. So it's really nice to kind of take a bird's eye view on the emotions first and seeing where it's coming from, like checking in, like it's like, okay, how do I feel today? What emotions are influencing me, and what am I choosing in these moments? Am I choosing to feed these emotions and allow it to control my day? Or am I choosing to simply observe the emotions and navigate through them to the best of my ability? So for example, if I'm feeling a little bit off, I'll take some time to myself, you know, and I'll meditate, I'll take a walk, I'll listen to an audio book, I'll listen to Master Code. That's a teacher that we really love to listen to. We listen together.
Right.
And this is something that brings closeness in relationships when you do things together, because having awareness is really being aware of one another and being aware that we're both separate entities. We're both separate souls in these bodies, and we're interacting with each other. And at times it can feel a little bit intense because the people that we love, we tend to care about the way that they're feeling. So
sometimes a little too much.
It's really, yes. Yeah. And it's really our job to take care of ourselves and make sure that we can show up in the best way possible. Now, in some cases, our moodiness or emotions, like as a female, sometimes, you know, we may show up a little bit more emotional, and then the male in return is kind of like, what's going on? Like, I'm confused, you know, and
you know, I respect.
You can speak on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I respect that you're saying that right now, because that is a high level of awareness, right? Because you understand you're not being sexist, you're being honest about your biology, because you do have a number of hormones that are more than mine. Now, I will say though, like, right, men, we have hormones as well, but it's not, I don't think the fluctuation of them can be as intense in our chemical factory, so it's a little bit different. So the fact is that like you understand yourself and you're aware of what you feel like, and what you, and you'll take steps to think about like, okay, how am I showing up right now, right? And this goes for anybody, regardless male or female. Like, you have to think about what you're showing up like, because that can be detrimental or very beneficial depending on what you're doing or who you're interacting with, right? Like, one thing that you and I are pretty well versed in is like our emotional intelligence, where like if, you know, there's a certain situation or there's certain people around us, like we know how to like not allow other people's triggers to become our own. So like, again, to your point, you know, you will have feelings about certain things. I will have feelings about certain things, you know what I mean? I might react differently. I tend to not want to react, but to respond, and you tend to not want to react but to respond. But then there's also like human moments, right? Because we are spirits in these vessels that do have moments where like maybe the reins are a little bit harder to steer at certain times. So like I just wanted to tell you that I respect that you're taking the time to tell other people that it's okay, you know, to recognize that you may have more feelings, or you may have some sort of imbalance chemically at certain times or parts of the day or whatever, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And
right.
The awareness, right? Going back to the awareness, that's what's most important here. So thank you for speaking upon that, because again, whether it's in a relationship with friends, family, like that, knowing self, understanding self. You were talking about audiobooks, you were talking about taking walks and meditating. Like, those are things to learn self more, so that way you can not only further your education beyond school, but also to let yourself know you more when you go everywhere. So that's just, you know, that's one of the reasons why I love you so much, because you really take the time to do that, and it's inspirational for all these people that watch, and for me also in the home with you. So
thank you, my love. I appreciate that. And I feel like you brought up some really good points, because having awareness of self is where we start. So in part one of this of our 2-part series. Part 1, we covered awareness of self. So that's the first step, is having awareness of yourself. Now, what does that mean? And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, go back and watch part 1. But basically, you want to start with that. And that is you focusing in on yourself and really being aware of your thoughts, of your emotions, of you being the soul within this human body, and knowing your triggers. And that takes time to really learn. But then when you start bringing yourself into other people's worlds, it's really your responsibility to be the observer of yourself in these situations, so that way you're putting your best foot forward and you're being considerate of others. So first, it starts with you being considerate of others, showing up to the best of your ability. Second is now knowing that other people are around you, and they also have their own emotions and triggers and things that they're going through. So there's a lot happening all at once. So it's not only awareness of self, but it's also awareness of self inside of yourself, also self outside of yourself, how you're showing up and projecting your energy. And then also it's awareness of other people and their awareness of themselves and how they're projecting their energy out into the world, and especially in your world when these people happen to be close friends or when you're in relationships. Now, with romantic relationships, things feel a little bit more intense, and I'm sure a lot of you out there who are in relationships, you can relate to this. Everything is amplified.
Sorry, I'm getting comfy on the couch.
And it's easier, I feel, to navigate relationships, meaning like friendships, where it's like, oh, you'll see this friend maybe once a month, and when you see them, you show them the best of who you are. And it's easier to navigate through that because there aren't as many
you see them
emotions involved, and you only see them once a month. Like if I only saw you once a month, we would make sure that every time that we were together it would just be perfect all the time. But the fact of the matter is, relationships are a beautiful thing too, because it shows us who we truly are, and it shows us our triggers and what we could possibly work through and what we could heal together.
Right.
So really having awareness is seeing the blessing in it, but also choosing to show up as the best version of yourself. Now, how do you even get there?
Right. I was going to say, let me, if I can, let me touch on that a little bit, because there's a level of, because you were saying we're our own people, and then also there's the awareness of others around us. I feel like a lot of times people believe, because there's intense feelings that we may have towards others, you're not selfish for taking the time for you to get yourself right. Like you were saying earlier, you may need some separation to go do a walk or something like that. I feel like a lot of times people there's like a negative connotation behind being selfish, right? Because it's the prefix is self, right? Like you have to, in order for you to be able to be selfless, you have to be able to look at self and take yourself almost out of the equation and in the equation at the same time. And what I mean by that is like allowing for yourself to really be your best self, so that way when you do see somebody once a month or you see them every single day, you're that same person. But you have to develop that, and that takes time. What kind of time is that? Sometimes, most times, it's by yourself time that ends up having to do that, right? Like me, for example, we're around each other a lot, but you take time to do things that you like, that are for you and your soul. I take time to do things that are for me and my soul, right? You had said in the beginning, I'm an artist, so like I need music to keep me good. You need music at times to keep you good. I need meditation. We do meditations together. Sometimes I need to by myself. Sometimes I need to go on that walk together. Sometimes I need to go alone. And like, I get certain epiphanies when I'm by myself. I get certain epiphanies when we're together, when we talk back and forth. Like right now is special, right? So for anybody who's watching, like you need that time for you to develop who you are, really meet yourself, like really, really meet yourself. Because we believe over time that we are who we are, and you've taken on all these different roles that people tell you who you are, and what kind of attitude you have, and what type of personality that you believe you have a permanency there, but it's like you're allowed to meet yourself again and reintroduce, relearn, unlearn, relearn things. And I think a relationship especially kind of introduces those topics pretty heavily, right? Because you have to I have to think about a lot how I'm saying things, how I'm doing things, what I'm bringing to the table as a human in a space with other humans, right? Like, it's not just about me, so that's where the selflessness comes from, but also like it is about me because I have to take time to develop myself so that when I come around you or anybody else, they do get a joyous feeling. They can feel like this is a nice spirit to be around, and that's important to me. And I want anybody who's watching to feel like that balance is probably the most important reason why we're here. But, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like that's such an important thing about this human experience.
Yeah, it's really about the balance, and again, the awareness of that balance. It's a constant balancing act, and it's a constant rediscovery of self.
Yeah.
As we go deeper into self and we start to have these realizations of who we truly are and what we're truly aligned with, we start to, everyone say hi to Mia, this is our cat. She's like, I'm coming in to save the day.
That's the road dog right here.
So yeah, what was I saying? I feel like I was just channeling information, but
I apologize for not regurgitating it back. The cat was just
she's distracting me. She's cute. Like she wanted her
she
spotlight.
Wanted her cameo real quick.
So it's really about rediscovering yourself, rediscovering who you are, and who are we really. It's who we create within our mind, and we can be whoever we want to be. We can create different versions of ourselves. We can completely rewrite our story whenever we want to. And I think the most important part of this is really examining yourself and seeing what flaws that you have. Not beating yourself up, but seeing the flaws clearly, being honest with yourself, and seeing how you could possibly change to have a more joyous life and existence and actually show up in other people's lives as this person that you're proud of. A lot of the times we show up and we feel a little bit off with our energy, or we're sitting here thinking about it too much, like I could have said this differently, or I could have showed up differently, or I could have done these things differently. And it's really about looking at those instances and seeing how we can improve ourselves. And that's what life is really all about. It's about not beating ourselves up, but looking at ourselves in a loving way and seeing where in our lives we can improve.
Yeah.
And also doing that inner work, even like the inner child work of like going deeper within and seeing where our pain points are and how we can go deeper and do that healing and just feel better.
Absolutely. Now, I have a question for you. So, how long have you been doing this podcast for?
So I've been doing this podcast for years. I don't remember when I started exactly, but it's kind of been like on and off. And it hasn't been that consistent. Like I feel like I just came back and it's more like renewed energy. So yeah.
Do you feel like your awareness of who you were becoming during those different times that you did or didn't do the podcast was most important than like the consistency of having a program?
Yeah, I feel like the times where I took the most breaks from my podcast was when I was going through more difficult times or challenging times, and I needed to make sure that I could show up as my best self.
Yeah.
And I started it back with more like renewed energy.
Okay.
It was when I was going through more challenging times and having different dark nights of the soul, awakenings, and things were happening. So I felt like I needed to just take time for myself. And for me, taking time for myself and going within and digging deeper it's necessary to do. And sometimes we need to do that. We need to take more time for ourselves and go within rather than exert all of our energy when there's really no energy there to begin with. It's kind of like you're forcing the energy in a way, and you're trying to create something that's not there. It's completely draining. It's almost like when you're going to a job every single day that you hate. What's the point? You know, you might as well take some time off and, you know, do something that you love to do.
Do you feel like, because I understand that, right? Because at the end of the day, like, I don't look at this as anything, whether it's music, whether it's, you know, teaching or anything like that, as something that I hate, but it can become a burden when you're not taking care of yourself. So is that really what you're speaking upon right now?
Yeah, like, I think what I'm comparing it to is more so, like you see every day, you see people working a 9 to 5, they go into work, they complain about how much, you know, they hate their boss, they hate their life, they hate so many things that they hate. And I feel like the main reason why it could become such a strong dislike, like in their mind, is because they're not taking time for self. And anything can turn into something that you dislike if you're not taking the time to give to yourself and to get deeper with yourself and nurture yourself. At some point, you're going to feel the burnout. You're going to feel like you're just working all the time. You're not going to be able to show up as your best self.
I feel like there's a lot of times in my life personally where, like, again, just to speak on like what you were saying, you know, like dark nights of the soul, things like that, like that's just, it feels heavy, but they're part of the human experience, and it changes you for the better always, right? Because like a lot of times when you're in it, you can't really see it. You can't really look at everything that like fed you at one point to feed you anymore. You have to find like a new way. So yeah, I just love that you're speaking upon that, because that's not something that's taken lightly by me, but I think to the person who like hasn't, or at least is starting their spiritual journey, like they probably think it's just like, oh, I meditate and I go do this and I do, you know what I mean? But like there's a lot that goes into caring about yourself, and sometimes it could be the darker things, like having to cry out something that's happened to you long ago, or like having to just like face a situation that you've been avoiding for a long time, or, you know, anything that really just, I feel like the human experience, we're beings of pleasure. Like we want to have pleasure and feel good and joyous, and we'll even lead ourselves down certain paths to make sure that we don't uncover deeper parts of ourselves that we buried, because it just feels like too much. So, you know, the fact that you decided, like, regardless of how much you love podcasting, or you love talking to people, or you love helping others, that you decided to, you know, look within, because how are we supposed to be of service to others if like we're not of service to ourselves again? Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really being of service to yourself. And yeah, like you said at the beginning, it's not selfish to put yourself first. If anything, you're helping others, you're helping yourself, and in return, you're helping others. So you're shifting your energy, and in return, you're helping to shift energy around you.
Right.
And also, as you're working on self, you start to project different energy. And the way that the energetic body works is we're always constantly, as frequency beings, as vibration, we're constantly picking up on vibration. We're constantly picking up on other people. We're like antennas walking around. So we're picking up on the shifts. We're picking up on the projections, what people are projecting onto us. It could be them doing it unconsciously. It could be them doing it on purpose. But most of the time it's unconscious. And some of us do it to others that we love too, where you'll have negative thought forms. And as you're thinking these negative things, they're projecting out and they're attaching to these people. So you're creating a connection between other souls that is a negative attachment.
Toxic
it's a toxic connection. Or You know, it could be a connection where the only thing that you guys talk about could be just trauma and
trauma bonding.
You know, it's trauma bonding, and you know, there's nothing wrong with.
It's just, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it makes me laugh because like I realized that most of the friendships that I garnered over time, like it just that's what it was, right? It was
right.
Like, it was simply like, we've been through this together and this, and like at these times in life we were going through stuff, and like we coped these ways, and we all were doing the same thing at the same time. And it's like, yeah, but when you choose different and you want different for yourself and you're doing different, it's hard to maintain those friendships or those relationships, because like if you don't want that toxicity in your life anymore, like that cord can still be there. So when you're around people, it could feel like, which goes back to the awareness, right? Like it could feel like tension when you're around those that don't align with like your new path, because you end up, they try to get you to be, or at least paint this narrative about who you've been and who you are, and like what you know, how you've always rocked together, and you're not necessarily like that anymore with them, or like they don't know how to connect deeper with you because you have been connecting deeper with yourself. Or you have a new circle of people who like also are doing the healing that you're connecting with on that deep level. You can end up being around people that, you know, you don't necessarily vibe with the same anymore, because you found a depth within yourself that they might not necessarily have achieved yet, or maybe met themselves in that manner yet. So now they're kind of looking at you like, who is this person?
Right.
And do I even like them anymore? And like, that's when that awareness of self has to be had, because you could end up having friction with somebody that, you know, you might have had like really tight bond with, whatever way the bond was before. Like, you know, if you're not aware of what your emotions and your thoughts are, and what your body's doing, and like, you know, you may offend somebody without even trying to, because you're just not interested anymore in that friendship, or like you're not, you know, necessarily appeased by their surface levelness, if you will.
Yeah. And you know,
which is nothing wrong with that also. Like, you know, we all have to start from somewhere, right? Like, I'm not sitting here talking all almighty or nothing. Like, we've all come from a place and then had certain situations that happened that had to get us to.
Yeah, everyone on some level, I feel, can relate to it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, well, it's all about leveling up your frequency. We're here to level up our frequencies. If you're watching this right now, you're here to level up your frequency too. And that's what we are about. And when
that's what we're about.
Yeah, that's what we're about. And when you are on this path, it can be a little challenging sometimes, because you're aware that you're here as this being that is just trying to better themselves in their life. And not everyone in our orbit is going to do the same exact thing. And that's about awareness of others, knowing that some people are kind of going to be stuck there for a little while, maybe for the rest of their lives, we don't know. Other people are going to be on this journey of like, hell yeah, let's be down and do the same things. You know, other people are kind of going to like watch on the sideline and be like, I think that's really cool what you're doing, I respect it, but
I'm not going to tell you.
It's just not for me, or I'm just not going to tell you anything because I don't want to seem not cool, or like whatever the case may be.
Right.
Everyone has their own interpretations of and perception of life, and just what they're choosing to do on a day-to-day basis. And also there's what I like to look at as like, there's just people who have a lot of baggage, you know, for lack of a better word, emotional baggage. And also
I'm laughing because I flashed back to this one time where like we were taking a family vacation long ago, and like I remember being outside with my brother, and there was this lady sitting next to us with her husband, and she's looking at him and she's like fed up with this man. You know, God bless this couple, but she's fed up with him. She's like, you have so much emotional baggage. And it's like, I feel her, because there are people who will bleed on you without you realizing it.
Right.
Clearly she realized it, but
you
know, like that does affect how another person feel. Like you think it's just their stuff, but when you have to interact with that, that's heavy for both of y'all.
Right.
You know, so like,
it's heavy for everyone that's involved. And the fact of the matter is we're not all on the same frequency. And there are points when you are leveling up and you're starting to change, where if you haven't experienced this already, you may start to experience it where people just start to drop out of your life, or something happens where you have a conversation and you're just like, you know what, I don't feel the connection with this person any longer.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Really?
It's okay to let those relationships go. Either that or just keep it really cool, like, oh, I see this person, they come through every now and again, I say hi, we have a cool conversation, it's very surface level, but we don't go any deeper than just, hey, how you doing, what's new? Versus your spiritual buddies, you know, they come in and they're like, yeah, let's talk about meditation and having a dark night of the soul, and look at all the blocks that I cleared, I'm doing this pranic healing.
Here's this book that I just stumbled upon.
You're sharing knowledge and information.
That reminds me of this book.
You're just geeking out on this
y'all
stuff.
geek out over it. And that's the thing, right? Like, to your point, I think that when you have spiritual buddies, or like people that at least rock with you on that level, the surface level relationships are awesome too.
That's fine.
Because,
like we need a balance of both.
Yeah, like those are cool too, because then you can sit there and be like, I'm getting fed over here. Like I'm getting fed over here. So if I talk with y'all a little bit and just chill or whatever the case is, like I could do that. And I don't need to.
So those are different tiers of friendships. Now, there may be the family member or the friend, well, ex-friend or man or girl or whatever, where it's just like, I don't know. They're just not getting it. Every time I talk to them,
your blood boils.
My gosh, it's just, they're challenging you, but it's like, wait, I'm doing all this work, and I feel like every time I speak to them, like it's reversing everything I'm doing, or I have to put up extra protection around myself to be able to have an interaction with this person, and that's called a toxic relationship.
Or a toxic person.
Toxic person, because you're over here trying to be the love and light. You're coming in and they're like, oh, I hate love and light. Oh, let me just crap all over this person, and verbally diarrhea all over them.
Right. I'm gonna go into a master code. What master code would tell me in this situation, which is that person or that soul just has their light buried under a lot of dirty, mucky type thoughts, feelings, and just the emotional baggage stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when, you shine your light around them in whatever way it is, their conditioning stops them from getting to that loving space with you where the interaction feels smooth and feels good and whatnot, like some other people do. And, like we can't choose our family. We get born into it, so a lot of times that becomes difficult, or whether it's the boyfriend or the girlfriend or whatever we're describing. But like a lot of times, you can't shake somebody awake. They have to feel it, and trying to get them to see it, it's going to put cortisol in your body. It's going to stress you out. So like the best thing to do in those situations is what I like to do, what we like to do, right? In our meditation time, I do meditation on twin hearts a lot. She does as well. But that's one of my favorite ones to do, because when I am feeling a way about a family member or a situation or whatever the case is, like I just give it love. I'm allowed to release it from me, so that way I don't have to hold on to it. I don't have to sit there and be mad at that person. I don't got to think about that, because like your stuff's your stuff. I'm aware that you got whatever you got going on, or you're like thinking whatever way you're thinking, but like I can't allow that to be me. I can't allow that to feed. I can't feed into it, because then that feeds my soul poison. And we just heard this today, right? Like if I give you a present and you don't want it, well, whose is it now? It's mine. So it's like, you can't give me your anger. Like that's yours. You can't give me that weird little sideways talk you want to do. Like that's not mine.
Right. And that's a good point, because that brings it back to awareness of others. And we can really be around anyone, and just having awareness that we have control over our emotions and what emotions we take on, that makes a huge difference. So we can create that protection that we need in our lives. and we can interact in a way that ultimately helps us to shift from feeling like we're a victim to feeling and knowing that we are power and we are the light and we have that power within us to be the higher frequency in these situations. So regardless of how the person acts and what they do, it does not penetrate us and it does not affect us. However, it does not give them the right to continue to abuse our energy in any way, because they're still projecting that energy at us. So the best thing we can do in these situations is to take space,
or minimize that time, for sure.
Or minimize the interactions with the people, especially if it's a family member that you have to see, let's just say every holiday. You take the necessary steps that you need to take to protect yourself and to, again, minimize that interaction.
Right. And I think the more that you step into your power, like you do the spiritual activities, you realize how much you are that powerful light being. So you don't have to succumb to like toxic cousin at Thanksgiving. Like, you know, you don't have to sit there and hear what they have to say that like is, you know, cringy for you or whatever the case is. You'll feel the need to either go, okay.
And it's beautiful to look at people like that with empathy.
Right.
And like they're just spiritual babies. They're still learning.
It's easy to move away from it instead of snapping at them. Right. Because you can stand in your power. Like that's what I mean by standing in your power. It's not like I'm more powerful than you, I'm gonna snap at you, right? Like that's kind of what the point of the spiritual journey is. It's like, you know when those times are, and those times are for when you're being physically attacked, like not when somebody just is like jabberjaws. Like that's nothing. That's just somebody trying to project their little thought forms on you, and like those aren't my thoughts. Like those are your thoughts. Why did I got it? That has nothing to do with me. And it's simple to just cut that off from you, so that way you can live in peace everywhere you go, live in power everywhere you go.
Right. And another thing too I wanted to bring up is we're talking about all this awareness, and a lot of these topics tend to rotate in the realm of spirituality. And I wanted to touch on that topic of spirituality. What is spirituality? Are we following a religion? Is this a cult? Like, what is this exactly? Like, what does it mean? You know?
I laugh when I hear that.
And how I like to look at spirituality is I'm a soul, I'm a spirit inhabiting a human vessel and body, and we look at our 3D reality like everything is just so physical, like you are this body and you become your actual physical reality when there's more to it. And looking at it deeper, at a deeper level, even on a science level, we're vibrating molecules being held together, and we're all vibrating at different frequencies. And without that, our being would cease to exist. And I'm not going to get...
Where's the glasses, Dr. Christie?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too crazy on you right now. But look, these are facts, okay? This is science. And on a quantum realm, it's a wrap, you know, like we literally have the ability to create anything and everything that we want within this reality. And that is spirituality. When we start integrating spirituality into our physical reality, we become the masters of our world. And we're able to operate at a frequency where we become the magicians of planet Earth. And I'm not talking about doing magic and witchcraft or none of that. No, this isn't witchy stuff. This is science-based stuff. But this is also stuff that we can't really explain, yet we can feel it. And we can prove it through real life scenarios and sharing stories with one another and showing that our mindset matters a lot, yes. But what matters the most out of all of it's like the mindset, but what matters the most is where our vibration is. Okay, so when we have, for example, we could have positive thoughts all day, but are those positive thoughts real? Because you can't trick the universe, you can't trick the true vibration that we're emanating from our being. So for example, we could say, nah, I'm not going to eat that cheesecake. I don't want to eat that cheesecake. Deep down, you want to eat that cheesecake so bad. But you're like, I hate cheesecake. I don't want to eat cheesecake.
You're speaking about speech versus...
Right.
You're talking about speech and...
Intention.
Intention versus thought and not necessarily living by that. Right?
Everything is separate, but we're looking at everything separate. So when we're living a life where we're treating it like it's separate and we're not integrating these things as one, we are kind of like taking steps back within our own reality. So what spirituality does is when we integrate spirituality into our physical world and we truly integrate it, we start to manifest at this really fast rate.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to say though, right, because that is advanced jargon, right, for people that understand. Like, there's people that are going to listen and be like, what? So like for the people
and that's why you're here.
Right? So for the people that don't, I like to say it like this: all religions point towards God. All religions point towards the all. All religions point towards something deeper than just yourself, right? Also, what I do like about spirituality, right, because it's not necessarily about religion, it's about what are we, right? I think that's the answer that a lot of people want, and that's why they go towards religion. They're like, what are we? Why am I here? And there's certain places that they can point to or books they can open that tell them a little bit about themselves, right? So I believe that, one, if you do have, whether you have a religion or not, that's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, you are, like you said, a vibrational being that is a part of a source. And in that, so everything is in motion. Nothing is at rest. Even when you're sleeping, everything vibrates, even still things. So because of that, whether you see it or not, like when you see a stone, it looks still, but they're made up of molecules that are slow paced, right? Where did that molecule come from? Right, there's a source from that. So the same thing with us is a vibrational source. It has source. We are from source. So ultimately, anything that brings you closer to source is something that everybody can agree upon. And you know, I feel like the thing with spirituality, right, that gets people kind of binded to it feeling like it's a cult or it's like a thing, you know, because there are like esoteric teachings and occult teachings, and like I like a lot of those. They helped me a lot in my life and stumbling upon them were honest blessings for me, regardless of what, you know, religion that my parents had me put in. You know, I went looking for answers in my life, and those answers led for me to see that I'm much more than just some guy that's here. And even like the way that I pray, like that's why meditation it's taboo to some people. You know, they don't meditate, they don't sit there, they're like, even when we do certain seminars, right, like people that are religious, they believe that sitting there quietly and doing it like this, there's something scary about it, when in reality it's just, to me, like we pray, we just we say thank you to God and our angels and all that. Like there's nothing about what that is that should be scary to people. But I believe, again, like with the whole spirituality thing, right, like I feel like people, if you are religious, there's nothing wrong with it. If you're spiritual, you know, there's like a mainstream spirituality that gets a little freaky sometimes, because like there's a way that people be like, oh, if you're meditating, you do this and you do that, like you're cool. But like Master Ko says, what kind of meditation? Like, what are you doing? Are you helping heal the world? Are you cleaning and cleansing your chakras? Are you
right? We're not talking about meditation as a trend.
Yeah.
Like you'll see a lot of people display it like they have to look the part and be the part and do the meditations, and you know,
which is fine, because you're finding something,
right?
You're looking for something. The same thing with religion, you're looking at something, and I'm not going to sit here and judge you about it. Like, that's beautiful, and I know where I'm going with my life and what I want to take this spirituality to whatever levels that I would like to, to liberate my soul. If that makes you feel liberated, cool, like, right? That's the important part. But I feel like sometimes religion points at spirituality like, look at y'all, ha ha ha, you're weird. And then spirituality points at religion like, oh, look at y'all, like, ha ha, you don't get it. And then I just the best way to be personally is to step away from it and be the observer of like, I respect you, I respect you, you do what you do, I do what I do, and I don't need to have feelings behind it. I'm just here to liberate myself and feel free as a spirit that came here to understand itself and know that I'm a vibrational being and that I can manifest my destiny by taking the time to think about what my thoughts are like and what my emotions are like. And if I master those, then I can control a little bit more than I understood at the time when I was just doing, certain things that I was directed to by my parents or whatever the case is. Like, now I'm starting to see that I do have more control over like how my day goes, or how that thing shows up for me, or how that situation plays out. And it all has to do with me being a more positive being and genuinely being it, not like you were saying where people just kind of throw it out there and they just want to talk about, oh, I want that cake when I don't want that cake, when they really do, right? Because like, you could eat the cake and then you could feel like, why did I eat that? Oh no. And then like, you're doing wrong to your body now, because now you're storing it in bad places because you're thinking negatively about it. And that's science as well. So like, what do you think happens when like you speak from a place of lack, like, oh, I want money so bad, instead of shifting into like, I know it's coming and I can see it and visualize it already, and that is helping bend my reality into that, and I'm going to make aligned moves to get to that space. Like, that doesn't just happen. That only happens when you are truthfully in a space of vibrational alignment, when you're ready to take yourself to that master key place, that master of your own universe, right? And then it affects those around you. It helps those to see it. It helps those get to that space. I kind of went on a tangent here about it, but it's like, I had to see,
it's
look,
like a bug.
No, it's the universe. No, so, all right, but yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, we could talk about this all night, and I love all of the points that you brought up.
Thank you.
And
you as well.
It was just a beautiful conversation, and we'll definitely do this again. Mm-hmm. I love you.
Love you too.
And to wrap it up, we're going to end with a grounding meditation. We did have a longer talk, so this meditation is going to be just a short little meditation to ground in all this information that we just spit at you today, in order for you to really absorb it, take it in, and start to integrate this into your daily life. Okay, so I want everyone to get nice and comfortable. Our cat Mia's here again. You probably can't see her, but she's here. And she normally comes when we do meditations to help ground the energy, so it's perfect timing.
This is her favorite part too.
This is her favorite part. So I want everyone to just close your eyes. We're going to take a nice few cleansing breaths in and out. So we're going to do about 3. So breathe in through your nose and then let it out with a sigh. Do 2 more of those. Breathe in through the nose and let it out with a sigh. And 1 more. We're going to breathe in through the nose and let it all out. Now I want you to picture this beautiful golden light at the top of your head, coming down into the crown, down into your eyes, relaxing your eyes, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your neck. I want you to squeeze your shoulders all the way up to your ears, and then drop them down, and then feel that relaxing golden energy coming down into your shoulders, down into your arms, down into your hands, all the way down into your fingertips. You're completely relaxed, down into the spine, into the upper back, lower back, into your chest. Now I want you to feel your belly completely relax and expand. We hold a lot of tension here. Feel that golden light expanding in the belly. Feel it drop down into your hips. Feel your hips sink down. Feel this golden light pouring down into your thighs, into the front, into the back, into the knees, into the shins, into your calves, all the way down into the feet, to the bottom of the feet. And I want you to pull this energy down, down, down into the ground, all the way down into the earth. And when you're here, I want you to meet the earth with this beautiful golden energy, feeding the earth. And now I want you to picture a beautiful green light from the earth coming up with this beautiful golden light energy, merging and swirling, coming together, coming up into the feet, pouring up into the legs, up into your hips, up into the stomach, up into the chest, up in the throat. And we're going to stop right here. And I want you to picture this beautiful golden light and this green light energy in your chest area, penetrating out around your entire auric field, holding you in this beautiful energy, grounding you, cleansing you, protecting you, guiding you. And just take a minute to feel this energy around your entire system. Breathe in through the nose and exhale. Breathe in again and exhale. And now I want you to picture beautiful violet light at the crown of your head, pouring down into your third eye, down into the throat, into the chest, into your solar plexus, down into the sacral, down into your root, clearing and cleansing all of your energy centers. Filling you with divine knowledge and integration at this time to have more self-awareness, awareness of self and awareness of others, and to experience deep healing on every level, and to also receive the knowledge and the wisdom that you need to receive at this time, and to connect with your innate wisdom within you, to feel the light and the power within you. And breathe in through your nose and take it all in. And any excess energy, just exhale out. Again, breathe in through the nose and exhale out. And then when you're ready, just put a little bit of movement into your fingers. You can move your neck around a little bit, flutter your eyes open very slowly, put a little movement into your feet, into your ankles, and welcome back. And you should feel amazing and energized and grounded.
I do.
All right. And ready to start your night or your day or whatever you're doing.
Real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for what you do for the collective. And thank you for being my queen.
And thank you for being my king.
Love you.
I love you. And I love all of you guys out there. And we're sending all of our love. We're sending all of our healing powers to everyone out there. And we have reached the end of the Level Up Your Frequency podcast. And of course, you can join us every single week, Wednesday at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to check out our products and services that are here to help you level up your frequency. We have binaural beats. We have vocal toning. We even have angel number merch to wear your divine angel numbers around to remind others of the power that they hold within them and to remind you that you are always divinely guided on your path. Check the link below, and I'll see everyone here again next week. Sending all of our love and blessings. Mwah.